Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Yakuza Apocalypse. This movie tells the story of a loyal underling of a Yakuza leader who turns out to be a vampire. After a fierce battle with martial arts experts, the leader's limb is torn apart. With his dying breath, he bites his underling, passing on his vampire powers. Will he be able to avenge his boss and become the new leader of the Yakuza? Let's find out in Yakuza Apocalypse. Yakuza Apocalypse begins by showing a middle-aged man named Kamiura, who is fighting fiercely against the Yakuza. Kamiura managed to kill the boss of the Yakuza group and returned home, where his wife immediately took care of him. However, the badly injured Kamiura sucked his wife's blood instead. Kamiura is a vampire, but no one knew about it. And now, the vampire was crowned the leader of the Yakuza he defeated. Kamiura's leadership style was very different from the previous Yakuza bosses. Kamiura actually helps and secures the city, so the townspeople respect him. Kamiura's kindness was seen when he and several of his men helped a woman named Kyoken, who had just been raped. They even beat up the man who raped her. Later, one of Kamiura's henchmen, Kageyama, takes Kyoken to the hospital, and he secretly begins to like her. In a small apartment, a desperate teenage boy is seen sharpening an axe. When the father came, the boy cried while begging his father to kill him. It turned out that their family was hit by financial problems, and the boy chose to die so that the burden on the family could be reduced. But, just as the father raised the axe to kill his son, Kamiura came. He slapped the father before giving him the money. For such reasons, Kamiura was highly respected by the locals in this town. One night, Kamiura and Kageyama came to a tavern owned by an old man named Den. However, it was no ordinary tavern, as Den served a special drink which is blood. Kageyama then tried to drink the glass of blood that was served, but because he couldn't stand the smell of the blood, he ran outside and vomited it out. Inside the tavern, several prisoners who were former members of the previous Yakuza group were seen being held captive to serve as Kamiura's meal if he was hungry and wanted to drink human blood. The next day at the Yakuza headquarters, Kageyama clashes with several other Yakuza members about a tattoo he doesn't have. They insinuated Kageyama, who was reluctant to get a tattoo, even though the tattoo is the identity of the Yakuza. It's not that Kageyama doesn't want to have tattoos, but his sensitive skin makes him impervious to being pricked by needles. After all, for him, tattoos are not essential in carrying out his duties as a Yakuza. In the afternoon, Kageyama visits Kyoken at the hospital. They talked about many things, one of which was what Kageyama wanted. Kageyama replied that he wanted to have a tattoo like Kamiura's. After that, they continued to talk, then Kageyama's friend arrived, so Kageyama had to leave the hospital immediately. On a street, a gunslinging priest and a martial artist named Mad Dog came to town. The two men eventually ran into Kamiura and threatened him to return to his old syndicate or die at their hands. Kamiura, who felt free to be the boss of the Yakuza, ignored the threat. They then fought on the street before moving to a deserted alley. In the end, Kamiura succumbed to Mad Dog's martial arts skills that were beyond his. Then, Kageyama came to help Kamiura. Unfortunately, Kageyama's martial arts skills are still inferior to Mad Dog, and he can easily be defeated. While Kageyama lay almost unconscious, he saw Kamiura being killed with an electric gun by the priest. Then Mad Dog beheaded Kamiura by pulling his head. After that, Kageyama saw the Yakuza captain, who is a woman with short hair, come. He realized that the captain had betrayed him because she wanted the position of leader in the Yakuza. After regaining consciousness, Kageyama attempted to retrieve Kamiura's head. It turned out that even though his head was separated from his body, Kamiura was still able to speak. Kamiura told Kageyama that he would channel his vampire powers. A moment later, Kamiura bit Kageyama's neck, turning him into a vampire. Simultaneously, the tattoo on Kamiura's back moved to Kageyama's back. Elsewhere, the priest, Mad Dog, and Captain visit Kamiura's regular tavern. Den happened to be away, so they took the initiative to check the basement floor, where they found the prisoners knitting. From the interrogation of the prisoners, the three finally found out that Kamiura is a vampire. Suddenly, they are accosted by other syndicate members who are friends of Mad Dog. He said that the leader of the syndicate would come to the city because Kamiura had not died after his blood flowed into Kageyama's body. The syndicate groups, as well as Captain, inevitably have to participate in the mission against Kageyama. Kageyama himself now looks hungry and thirsty. He saw several Yakuza robbing civilians in an alley, then immediately fought them. All Yakuza are prohibited from attacking civilians, and that means they have violated the rules. However, Kageyama finally couldn't resist the temptation to suck the civilian's blood. He sucked the man's blood, and instantly, the man collapsed. Surprisingly, the man didn't die, but instead turned into a vampire. The man then bit his wife and made her a vampire too. Unfortunately, a schoolgirl accidentally saw the incident. She tried to run away, but the man chased her and bit her. The schoolgirl turned into a vampire. After the incident, Kageyama visits Kyoko at the hospital. There, he tells his story, confessing that he is afraid of hurting her and turning her into a vampire. But then, Kageyama suddenly felt hot. Kyoko took off the bandage so she could help Kageyama, who was seen groaning in the heat. But not wanting to hurt Kyoko, Kageyama immediately left the room and ran down the hall until he bumped into a nurse. His unbearable thirst and hunger forced him to bite the nurse's neck, turning her into a vampire. Long story short, Kageyama wakes up at Den-den's place. Den-den explains how to become a vampire. At least Kageyama must drink 250 milliliters of blood every day. Den-den added that the blood of civilians is so delicious that it can be addictive, in contrast to the blood of the Yakuza, which is low in nutrition. However, when Kamiura was alive, he preferred to drink the blood of the Yakuza for the benefit of the townspeople. After that, Den-den gave Kamiura's letter to Kageyama. But when it opened, it only contained a blank sheet of paper. Den-den concluded that Kageyama should empty himself and find out what the letter meant. Kageyama interprets the letter as an order to avenge Kamiura. Therefore, Kageyama came to a teenage boy whose father had been killed by Captain's actions. There, Kageyama invites the boy to take revenge on his father's killer, and the first step he had to do was turn into a vampire. The boy immediately took action after turning into a vampire by blocking the car that Captain was in. He attacked the car ferociously with an axe, but Captain could escape. The next day on a highway, Kageyama and the boy came to the Yakuza headquarters. He tries to finish off the Yakuza, but Mad Dog and the priest are there. Kageyama then fought Mad Dog fiercely. Just as the priest was about to take out his weapon, suddenly a skateboard filled with a ticking time bomb flew into the center of the room. The syndicate members and the Yakuza immediately rushed out to save themselves. It turns out to be a fake ticking time bomb sent by Den-den to save Kageyama. He was worried that Kageyama might not be able to defeat the syndicate members. Kageyama was then brought by Den-den to his place. There, Kageyama checked again the blank paper Kamiura had given him. Smelling the paper, which had a citrus scent, he placed the paper on the flame. Suddenly, a message appeared on the paper, asking Kageyama to be brave and not give up. Finally, Den-den is convinced that Kageyama can defeat all his enemies. Then, Kyoko came to Den-den's place. She took Kageyama outside for a chat. She is willing to be bitten by Kageyama to become a vampire. However, his affection for Kyoko made Kageyama resist his urge to bite Kyoko. Kyoko kept begging and hugging him, but Kageyama still didn't change his mind. Elsewhere, a man wearing the frog costume is seen entering the city. The frog turns out to be the leader of the syndicate. He has excellent hypnosis and martial arts skills. Evidently, he was able to finish off local residents who got in his way with ease. Then, the frog came to the people who were being held in the tavern. There, he also met other members of the syndicate, but became furious when he learned that Kamiura had died. Kamiura should have been killed by him, he said. Out of rage, he killed all the prisoners in the tavern. One afternoon, the townspeople who were annoyed with the behavior of the Yakuza then attacked them. A brawl ensued between the residents and the Yakuza on a highway. Kageyama and the vampire boy also joined in the brawl. The frog also came to the place riding a bicycle. He managed to expel the residents so that the brawl can be stopped. But then, the boy came to Captain at a tavern. Captain, who was enjoying the noodles, was hit on the head and died instantly. After the brawl, it was Kageyama and the frog's turn to fight on a deserted street. Kageyama was hypnotized so that his body could not be moved except on the orders of the frog. At this time, the Yakuza suddenly came in a truck and crashed into the frog. However, thanks to his costume, the frog was still alive. He then fought two Yakuza, and at this moment, Kageyama, who had been released from the hypnotic influence, kicked the frog. The priest came to that place and challenged the Yakuza to a fight. Kageyama is left alone to fight the frog because the Yakuza have to fight the priest. Suddenly, the frog took off his costume. The frog turned out to be a thin man. The frog's fighting ability is indeed very good. Several times his attacks were able to hit Kageyama's body. However, Kageyama managed to figure out the frog's weakness. He immediately punched the frog in the stomach and pulled the band-aid that covered his navel. Not long after, the frog groaned in pain as a bright light emitted from his navel sent him to another dimension. After that, Kageyama still had to beat Mad Dog. At that crucial moment, suddenly Kyoken came and asked Kageyama to bite her, because she knew Kageyama couldn't fight Mad Dog alone. However, Kageyama still didn't want to bite Kyoken. He prepares to take on Mad Dog alone, and Mad Dog offers him to decide the fight with one hit. At the end of the story, after Kageyama defeats Mad Dog, his body changes. He now has the real body of a vampire, complete with wings that can take him to the sky. Meanwhile, the frog returns with the body of a giant frog and destroys the surface of the earth. The message from this film is that no matter how evil a person is, he or she must still have a conscience, as well as the goodness tucked away in it. Even though we see Kageyama killing people because of his hunger and thirst after he turned into a vampire, he still remains firm in his principle of not hurting the people he loves. Likewise with Kamiura, he was willing to endure his hunger and thirst by not hurting civilians, and instead helped them when he held power as the leader of the Yakuza.